I'm so excited that you guys showed up today. I promise it's going to be worth your time. Promise it's going to be worth your attention. I'm going to kind of go through a couple of things about what you kind of expect from Mix, the heart of Mix, kind of some things of what is your student going to experience on a daily basis, to like safety concerns and stuff like that. And then I'm going to leave a ton of questions for you guys. I'm hoping to say about 45 minutes. We'll get you guys out. I hope you guys have had lunch already, because I know it is a late 1:30. And so I love Mix. This will be my first year with Crestwood, but I've gone as a student, as a leader. I've gone as an intern. So Mix is very familiar to me and Richard, and it is just a blast. We just got back from Bible and Beach, which is kind of like the high school, like cooler version of Mix for Southeast. And it is just incredible what God can do in a week. And so I forgot to actually put the numbers up here. But actually, if you look at it, the time that we have as a pastor at MSM, like once a week, if students came every week, is actually less than if they go to this like 4-day camp at Mix. And so it's just incredible time that like leaders get to be with your students, and I get to be with your students, and they just get to connect with one another and with their leaders that care about them and how they're doing spiritually. And so it's just an incredible time of investment and love. And so I want to tell you the heart of Mix is this, is we desire for every student going to interact with Jesus and then come home with community that pushes them toward Jesus after Mix. And so I can guarantee you they're going to interact with Jesus at Mix. It's just a place that we can unapologetically for 4 days tell them about Jesus, tell them about their need for Jesus, tell them about what they can do to follow Jesus. And there's like just an incredible amount of decisions that happen at Mix. And so I want you to know that can mean baptisms, that can mean I want to follow Jesus for the first time. That could mean like a rededication is a made-up word, but like a rededication of like, hey, I'm going to, I kind of followed Jesus for a while, and then I left it, and now I'm coming back to just follow him more deeply. So there's types of those decisions all the time that happen at Mix. I think at Bible and Beach, we had 22 decisions, or 22 baptisms to follow Jesus, right? And so there's a ton of things that happen. It's also the best place to connect, to get your students connected to other people. It's the best place to get your students connected to other people. And so a cool story that happened at Bible and Beach, actually, a kid in my group, he lives in Indianapolis right now, but in like a couple months, him and his family are going to move down here to Crestwood. And so they know they're going to go to Southeast, and so they signed him up to go to Bible and Beach. And so he walked in these doors literally not knowing anyone, not knowing who Richard was or not knowing who I was, not knowing a single student, and walked in, and he left knowing like 20 guys. And I talked to his grandma. He was in the car, and he started crying to his grandma, saying like, "Mom, my grandma, I know my community now." And so it's just really cool that they're going to be there for 4 days at Country Lake, and they're going to leave with a community of friends and people that care about them, leaders that care about them. And so that is our heart, to get them connected to community, that they interact with Jesus at Country Lake, but then can leave with that same community that can push them forward for the whole year. And so that's our heart. Let's go to the next slide. So it's kind of just some things you need to know. So Monday, July 26th, that's kind of the first day at camp. You need to be here at 2 p.m. Our hope is to leave by 3 p.m. And so if you guys can get here at 2 p.m., and you'll check in your students, like we'll have stations set up, and we'll kind of like operate it. And then if your student doesn't know a ton of people, we're going to kind of get them into their small group quickly. Just for that same heart that we talked about, that I just talked about, so that they know their students, they know like people in their small group, people are their leaders, like really, really quickly. And so you're going to get here at 2 p.m., kind of this atrium right here, walk in here, and get your student checked in. And so probably don't have this problem with middle school students, but just make sure that you come. Like we want you to like send your students out. So don't like drop them off at the front door and like drive away, because one, that's kind of scary. Two, just don't do it. And so like come in, we want you guys to kind of see the community. And two, the main reason I have you guys like come in and meet and kind of just see the whole process is I really want you guys to get to know the small group leader, okay? I want you guys to know the face and know the name of your small group leader. I'd say if you miss that, it's a huge missed opportunity, because this is what I want to tell you. You might be the best parent in the world, But your parents are still, your students are still going to reveal something to their small group leader that they've probably never told you. And not because they don't want to tell you probably, right? But it's in a different environment where we're hearing about Jesus. So they're probably going to, like, your small group leader of your student is probably going to hear something about your student that you don't know yet, right? And as parents, I think we want to know that, right? And so get to know the small group leaders because they get to see your student in a different context. And so knowing their name, maybe getting their number, knowing their face is a really, really huge deal for me. And so do that. Pickup is at 9:30 p.m. Thursday. That should say July 29th. So I don't know why it says June. So it's July 29th. So that last day, which should be a Thursday, right here. And so students can leave once they get off the bus. So there's kind of no process or anything like that because they're exhausted, we're exhausted. But this is, again, just another great time where I would love and I just recommend being able to talk to your student's small group leader for the week. So talk to them, get to know them, say, how was it? How was my student? So get to know them. And so 9:30 p.m., Thursday, July 29th. So that's the Thursday they come back. So we can go next one. So we're going to hang out here for a little bit. This is a normal day at Mix. And so Monday is going to be a little different. Thursday will be a little different because those days are kind of just shorter. But it's a normal day at Mix. And so they're going to wake up, I think about 7, 8-ish. And they're going to maybe hopefully shower. Maybe 20% of them will shower. That's a good number for me, if 20% shower. And so they're going to be really, really smelly, especially the boys. And they're going to go to breakfast, and they're going to eat. And man, what we have, like what we kind of encourage them to do is kind of do everything with at least someone in their small group. And that's just good for community. I just want to let you know, like if you're sending a student that maybe doesn't know people, maybe they're even a little nervous, right? About like, I'm going to go to this camp at Country Lake, and it's in Indiana, and I'm a little concerned. Like, we know that that's the case for a lot of your students, okay? And so we just want to let you know that because of like kind of how we set it up, and we ask them and our group leaders to always be in your kind of small group area, right? Always be with people from your small group. And we have games and things built later in the day that are built that's like for example, like the night activity might be like a game that you like compete with your small group, right? And so that just builds community. It builds like just making sure that people are included into the family of your small group. And so they'll eat breakfast, and then the session is like a worship service, but just really, really crazy. And so it's going to get crazy. We have a thing called like a praise pit, which is like if I'm the worship person, like they all come down here, and they don't worship like adults worship. They just like jump. Like just nonstop, just think of it, like 30 minutes, just jumping. And so then they're even more sweatier and they're even more smelly. And then they come sit down next to me and I'm kind of like smelling everything. But so then in the session, we play really fun games. It's really exciting. And kind of the whole point of those sessions is just for them to hear just simply the gospel and for them to hear the name of Jesus. And so someone will preach or talk. Both of those sessions every single day, every morning and every night session, they'll talk about Jesus for a little bit. But it's just a incredible room full of middle schoolers. And so I should have said this. There's 3 weeks of Mix. Our week is going to be Crestwood, LaGrange, and River Valley. So Oldham County is taking over Country Lake for a week. And so it's going to be really cool because there's a ton of just students in the room that are mostly all excited about hearing the name of Jesus. And so it makes like just kind of that jumping really fun because they want to jump for 30 minutes. It makes the room really fun when there's just a ton of middle school students that are excited to be there in their small groups, just loving camp. And so that's kind of what a session looks like. And then we go to group time after the morning session. In group time, groups are probably the thing that I emphasize the most, that I care about the most. At Mix that's because there's just a lot revealed sometimes in those like settings. There's a lot like learned in those settings. And the thing about middle schoolers is they are very, very forgetful, right? And you guys know that, right? Every time you like ask them to go unload the dishwasher, right? They're very, very forgetful. And so the cool thing about groups is this, and this is what, again, where I really would love for you guys to get to know your student's group leader for the week. Is because like your students, I promise you, every student's going to kind of leave with something of, hey, I need to, I want to read my Bible more when I go home. Or, hey, I want to follow Jesus for the first time in my life, right? Or, hey, I've been committing this sin for a long time, and when I get back, I want to change, right? And so, but middle schoolers are very forgetful, which is just who they are. That's okay. They're very forgetful. And so your as small group leader is going to help remind them of that like 3-4 months later, right? And so then if you guys, connect with your small group leader, their small group leader, and hear about that, like you can remind them 3, 4, 5 months later. Say, hey, remember like 4 months ago when you said you're going to read your Bible more? Have you? Oh, no? Okay, let's get back on track, right? And so it's just a way, I just want to tell you that because, like, man, I really care about the leaving process because for middle schoolers, it can be an awesome 4 days at Mix where they interact with Jesus, but I want this, like, moment this week to last, okay? That's what my heart is. I know that's your guys' heart for this moment to last. And so we go to groups. Groups are pretty fun. And it just kind of builds community. Like we talked about the heart of Mix is to build community, have community that leads with you. And so it's just good to like build community. And I promise no matter who you are as a middle schooler, if you go to Mix, you're going to leave with like 10 different friends. It's just how it is. You're going to leave with 10 different friends. And so groups really, really helps that. So after they go to lunch, so they have a huge cafeteria. It's pretty good food. I forget some of the food, but it's really, really good. And so I think they're changing it. I saw there's loaded tater tots this year, which I'm pretty excited about. And so, yeah, I think those are mainly for the middle schoolers to be excited about. I'm excited about them, though. So they go to lunch, and then we have rec time, which is another word for just kind of free time. And so there's a ton of things that they can do during free time. The main thing I think they usually go to, if you're a smart middle schooler, is to go to the lake. And so they have different things at the lake, like a blob, which is essentially a huge pillow that you sit on, and then someone else jumps on it, and then you fly off the pillow into the water. They have a zip line, a trapeze, a huge like water slide, a couple of inflatable things sitting in the water, and so they have that. That's one thing you can do in rec time. They can also like play basketball or play soccer. A ton of our students love doing those things. They also have things in the cafeteria that they can do like crafts and stuff if they want to like, not sweat a ton like all the other students. And so that's something that they can do. They can also hike. But when we send them to go hike, they have to be in groups, so don't worry about that. So we'll send them in groups to go hike. I think there's a snack bar too. That they can go. And so if you want to give them money for snacks, I'd totally recommend giving them $5, $10. Don't leave them with, I've seen this before, don't give them like $150, okay? Because they're going to lose it. That's how that's going to happen, I'm going to tell you right now. So maybe $5, $10 just to protect your money. But give them $5, $10 to go buy snacks and stuff. So that's something they can do during rec time. And again, that's just another time for our leaders to kind of connect with your students. And so what I tell all of my small group leaders for the week is, hey, this is not off time for you. This is on time for you. And so, hey, go blob your student, right? And that just is all about connection. Have that like shared moment together that can maybe later get your student to open up. And so I just want to let you know, like that's what like leaders are going to be with your student, hanging out with your students, around your students. And so then we'll have dinner. Hopefully they'll shower in between rec time and dinner. I like to get maybe 30% there. And so now half our kids have showered in the last 24 hours, which is a win, I think. And so then we go to a session. So again, just a session. The night sessions are kind of like the bigger moment, kind of the bigger gospel moment, where we're trying to really get the students to interact and make decisions about, man, what do you need to do when you go home? And so the night sessions are really, really big, really, really awesome. I've seen the Lord work just in so many ways in those night sessions where students walk out and they're just so excited for the gospel, wanting to get baptized, wanting to follow Jesus more deeply. And so, and we'll have campus debrief, right? And so the heart of this is that, like I said, we have 3 different campuses there. And so one of the goals that I really have for you guys students is for them to feel maybe for the first time connected to MSM, our middle school ministry, or maybe if they've been going to MSM for a while, to feel more connected with MSM and our Crestwood middle school family here. And so we'll go to like a building and sit down, and maybe we'll ask like, hey, what was something fun that you guys did today? And people will talk, and say something fun or ridiculous they did. And then we'll ask like some more deeper questions of like, hey, how have you seen God work, right? And so your middle schoolers will see other middle schoolers say, hey, like, I came into this week struggling with this, but then God's been telling me this, and I've seen him work like this, right? And so it's just a time to help build like our Crestwood MSM family, right? And so that's this the kind of campus debrief. That's what that means. The night activity, I don't even know if I can explain the night activities because they're done by this group called CIY, which is Christ in Youth, and they just do some of the most ridiculous, crazy games I've ever seen. Last year, it was like capture the flag, but not like capture the flag you've ever seen. Like there was like, I don't even remember, there was like aliens and you pick up cards and have these like different challenges. And it's just a blast. That's all it is. I don't even know how to explain it. And if I tried to, you think I was crazy. But it's just a ton of fun, a ton of time again for you guys students to connect with one another and with their leaders and just have a ton of fun. And so that's a night activity. Usually there's like one of the campuses or one of the groups will win the night or whatever. I think they break them up in like squads is the word. But that's a night activity. So that's kind of a normal day at Mix. And then they go to bed. Of course, we do send them to bed. Don't worry, that's not on there. They do sleep, some. And so they'll go to their dorm, they go sleep, and maybe 5% will shower then. And so now we're up to 55% have showered. And that's a win, actually. So let's go to the next line. Yeah, packing list. So these are kind of the important things. I would say get these in your students' hands. Because if not, it's just kind of hard for your student, and we'll have to give them they won't go without water or sunscreen or anything, but it just helps them be most prepared to kind of handle 4 days at Mix. And so clothing, obviously, don't not give them a pair of clothes, that'd be bad. Modest swimsuit, and so I think the right word is like a one piece for girls. Is that, yeah, Katie's giving me a thumbs up. And so just kind of like a one-piece, not two-piece swimsuit for girls. Just helps us be modest. And even in middle school, like it's just good for the guys and for the girls to be, dressed like that. Or to have the girls dressed like that. A rain jacket, that's often really forgotten. It's probably going to rain, one day out of 4, right, for a little bit. And so make sure you pack a rain jacket. 2, this is really big. A lot of students use their Bible app for their Bible. That's okay if you're not a middle schooler, because even me at 24, like when I open up my phone to get on the Bible app, now I want to go to ESPN, right? Now I want to go to Instagram. I want to check all my other apps, right? And so I know that temptation for middle schoolers is even heightened being middle schoolers. And so, give them a real physical Bible. If you don't have one, for example, just in case, like we can give you one, but make sure they come with a real physical Bible, and then a pen for them to write down. That just helps them, like a pen and a journal. That just helps them like remember and kind of like what the person's talking about on stage or something that they learned in small group. That's really helpful because, like I said, we want them they're going to experience Jesus at this camp, but we want them to leave with Jesus at the camp, right? And that to continue through the whole year or even past that. And so that's like seems small, but giving them a pen and a journal is a really, really big deal to us. Sunscreen. I hope everyone packs sunscreen. Also, just tell them to emphasize that they should wear sunscreen. We're going to tell them that 1,000 times. But I know hearing that from a parent is really, really helpful, more than just me. And so please tell them to wear sunscreen every day and for them maybe to put it on like multiple times if they go swimming or even if they're not swimming, because we just don't want anyone's week to be ruined by blisters or anything. And that usually doesn't happen, but I have seen it happen before, and it's just not fun for your student. And so really emphasize, hey, wear sunscreen. Wear it a lot, and we'll have leaders there too that if they see a student not put on sunscreen, they're going to be like, hey, you even put on sunscreen, and they'll get them. But there's a lot of students obviously, so you kind of just tell them that. Beach towel, and also I'd say I'm going to add on there like 2 towels, like one for the beach, right, and then another one just for showers and stuff like that. It's good, and it's hard to get those dry again, especially with middle schoolers. You just kind of just throw them. And so having 2 towels is really helpful. A water bottle. We're gonna have water stations, we're gonna have things like that. But just having like a physical, reusable water bottle is really good for students to have along the way. And so you need that. Toiletries, toothbrush, things like that. My favorite thing to do with middle schoolers when we go on trips like this is to go up to them and kind of whisper like, hey, should I have brought a toothbrush? And they're like, yeah, man, you totally should have brought a toothbrush. I'm like, oh, I didn't think I would have to. And so like getting some of the reactions on that's really funny. That's not important. A backpack. So a backpack's really important because as they go to session and stuff, like they're running around to a ton of different places all day. And so if they have a backpack that they can bring, they can put their Bible in there, like I said. They can bring their sunscreen. They can bring the water bottle, everything that they need. And that helps you as parents, just protect what you give them so they don't lose it. Because if they're carrying around a Bible and sunscreen and a water bottle, they're probably going to lose something. And so just kind of giving a backpack for them all to wear is really nice. And then a sleeping bag. You could totally bring sheets and a blanket. I would just recommend a sleeping bag and a pillow. It's kind of easier for them to keep up with. So a pillow and a sleeping bag are really helpful. Then we go to the next line. Oh, yeah, cell phones. Cell phones, kind of our stance on cell phones. And you can have your stance as a parent and kind of change this. But our stance on cell phones is this, is at night we do take them. Because we have like cabin dorm rooms with like 30, 40 middle schoolers, right? And so they're going to try to like sneak their phone and, and like text their friend or whatever. And so at night, like we're just going to take them away so they can sleep. And we tell them 1,000 times, and we can even charge them during the night for them. They can still bring a phone charger. We recommend that. So they can, charge their phone, and so they can do that. But at night, we take them away. If they're a distraction, like during the group time, then we take them away, at least for some time or during a night. Now, that's not just like, hey, a kid looked at his phone once. But if it's like, I'm in small group, and, if I'm a student, I'm just like looking here the entire time, like not, interacting with the group at all, then at like that point, like I'd kind of recommend my leaders to kind of take that phone. And so no worries on that, but we just want them to be focused on Jesus. So that's what you'll expect. If you want to take your phones, like if you want to like not let your middle school student have a phone at Mix, I'm going to give my huge thumbs up on that. I'm not going to tell you that's what you should do. But if that's the decision that for your middle schooler, you're like, hey, this phone's going to be a distraction. If you know that's the case for your middle school student, then just take it away. Like it's really simple. Don't let them have it. And that's a good way. Just kind of protect them from distractions and stuff like that. Two, what I'll also say, if they do have their phones, especially if they might be prone to like homesickness, what parents want to do, and I understand your heart in this, is to text them every 10 minutes and say, hey, like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Are you feeling homesick? That usually makes students more homesick and more wanting to come home. Okay, and so you can kind of have your phone ready if they want to text you, communicate. I'm not saying shut off all communication no matter what, but usually if your student's kind of a little prone to homesickness, like don't text them every 10 minutes because then they start thinking about home, right? And so that's kind of cell phones. Let's go next slide. Medicine and allergies. So we're going to have a station. You have to turn in your medicine and allergies, or your medicine of your students. That just helps us make sure that they're taking their medicine because, again, middle schoolers are forgetful, right? And so if you just kind of like let us take care of that, that is the most helpful thing. So please turn in your medicine to us. And there'll be a station at check-in the day that you drop your students off. And so medicine's going to go with our nurses that are very qualified to hunt down students, to make sure they're taking the right stuff, all that type of stuff. And then also, like if your student is dehydrated or something like that, they're there just in case of an emergency like that. And so you'll turn in your medicine. All this too, I'm not going to go extreme details on medicine, but how to do the medicine stuff is in this packet. If you haven't got a packet, you can get on the way out. Candy has it. And so, but it kind of tells if you are one of those people or your student is one of those people that has medicine stuff, go through that. They'll kind of tell you how to do it because there's a process online, and then you bring it to us the day you drop them off. So that's all you need to know. Safety, yeah. So safety is a huge deal for us. at middle school camp. And so we just want to keep, your middle schooler safe from anything that might happen. And so a couple of policies I just want to give you and tell you, just so you can kind of feel safe sending your kid to camp. No adults alone policy. And kind of how the camp is set up is that even if an adult for some reason wanted to be alone with a student, it really can't happen. Because there's just so many people in so many different locations that it won't happen. So we have a policy, no adults alone with a student at all time. Have to be inside, have to be where I can hear the conversation, stuff like that. And then we make sure to enforce that in our small groups, because we have 2 or 3 leaders for every small group. And so usually a small group's going to be 12, 14 kids, and then 2 leaders, around there. And so another policy I have is 1 leader for every 8 students, right? We don't want to give 1 leader 30 students so they can't keep up with your students and they're off running somewhere else. And I think right now we're even at a 6-to-1 ratio, which is really, really awesome. And so, too, when you meet your small group leader, just thank them, because they give up 4 days of their work week to spend time and to pour into your students. So please thank them for what they're doing. We have background checks that we do on every single person that wants to serve with us, and those are very thorough and done well before. And then Ministry Safe. Ministry Safe is videos that all of our leaders will watch just to help them kind of know what to do in situations and how they should, make sure that they're following these rules, and kind of just give them guidelines to make sure that we're just keeping your students safe. So that's kind of mainly all you need to know. Yeah, and then back to the heart. Again, we desire for every student going to interact with Jesus and then come home with community that pushes them toward Jesus after mix. And so one of the main things I want to tell you guys as parents, and we'll have some questions after this, is that, man, help them as parents, help them stick with the community that they were given, okay? And I know I'm the middle school pastor, so of course I'm biased, man, but the great ways that you guys can do that is making sure that they're part of our ministry, of our middle school ministry going forward. Because here's what I've seen before in the past, is that when students go to Mix or go to Bible and Beach, and then they don't see that community that they interacted with Jesus for a whole nother year, right, or maybe even longer, it's really, really hard for them to stay committed to the commitment or to what they learn about Jesus afterward. And so I was saying is that community leads to commitment, right? And so we all want our students to be committed to Christ long term. And so the best way for that to happen is for them to be stuck in a community that loves them, knows how they're doing with Jesus, hears from them. And so community leads to commitment. And so just as parents, you guys can take responsibility for that, to make sure that they're part of the community here that we have at Crestwood Middle School Ministry, to make sure that they're committed, they're part of the community, from their small group and with their friends in this community of middle schoolers that, are also following Christ. And so I just really recommend that, because community leads to commitment. Obviously, I'm biased because I want your student to be part of what's happening here and what I do. But I've just seen that it works. When you get them in community on a weekly basis, they're going to usually stay committed to the call that Jesus has given them. And so, is there another slide? That's it. Is Richard, you want to come up here and help me? I just want to hear questions from you guys, because I know there's things that you guys might be thinking of. Richard, too, is an expert, so if I don't know something, he might know something, though he just laughed. Yeah, so what questions do you have? There has to be something. Yes, you have to be really loud. Yes.
Yeah, I know there's Wi-Fi at the camp. I'm not sure about access for students the whole time, but I think there is as well. Chad, do you actually know the answer to that? In the dorms, not in the dorms, but in the main rooms. I know there's one in the main worship room and the cafeteria there. But I don't know about the dorms.
Yeah, when they go to the cafeteria into where our sessions are, they'll have Wi-Fi then. Yeah. I didn't think about iPods. That's good. Yes. That's a middle school question right there.
It's a great question.
I think they're around $1. Maybe a little less for some, maybe really more for the good ones, right? We want the good ones. And so probably around $1. So if you're good at
She
math,
just turned and said,
$5
I need more.
will get 5 snacks.
Snack
And that's,
tabs.
yeah, and that's why I said don't give them $150 because they'll use all $150.
Kelly won't give me much money that week either, my wife. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We got to protect Richard.
I need a tab, too.
Really likes candy.
Candy in the back.
Do I need to explain that? Because they're middle schoolers, Candy. And so, yeah, I don't know if I said that, but we just recommend don't give them energy drinks. One, they're going to have enough sleep. We're going to make sure that they go to bed by a certain time, and then they're going to wake up, not too early. And so we really make sure that they get enough sleep because we know that, it's really hard to interact with Jesus, to hear from Jesus when you're on 2 hours sleep. And so they're going to get plenty of sleep, so don't feel like you need to give them energy drinks because energy drinks lead to crash and burn, if you haven't heard. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I know some other parents probably won't like me saying this, but I've got some other kids that are going to like the elementary school camp.
Yeah.
And I just wish, like I went to that meeting, those meetings last week. They said no phones. Like
Yeah.
I know we confiscate them. As a mom of a son who's almost 13,
Yeah.
girls and boys, it's a little different, and there's just so much temptation.
Mm-hmm.
As almost 13-year-old boy with the screens, and I just really, really, really wish, and I know I'm not probably popular here with this, but I
Yeah,
just
okay.
wish that at church camp we're just praying that they'll just draw closer to the Lord and to each other, and just enjoy nature. I just wish, personally, I know I'm probably not.
You're okay. You don't have to
But
clarify.
I wish that you all would just say no cell phones. I know it's highly encouraged, but I wish that just for those few days that we would just say, what, it's emergency, we'll call mom and dad. But I just wish it was just personally, I wish it was no cell phones, and then that way
Sure.
I don't have to be concerned about I have a friend, she has 6 boys. She did the family camp. Her boys are 14 down to 3. She did the family camp just because of this. Now I'm not doing that, but that's why she didn't let her boys go because of temptation of porn. And
Yeah.
so I'm just like that. I just wish because I know that they're getting older and you have to give them more slack, but I just am concerned about them getting together and then their friends having that phone and no supervision, and then what are middle school boys really want to look at?
Sure.
I just wish it was just no phones. I know it's highly encouraged, but I just wish that I didn't have to be concerned about that.
Understand.
I don't
Yes,
know.
we
I
do.
just like that maybe why we just don't say
Yeah.
the 5th graders no phones.
Yeah.
If you can't hear, she said, why not have any phones at all? Because of some of the temptations. And so I would say one of the reasons that we do have, I really, really fight for a great student to leader ratio is to make sure that doesn't happen. And I just know man, when there's even bathroom time, when they're allowed to go take showers, I put a leader in the bathroom that probably does not have very much fun for 45 minutes, sitting there, making sure that, kids are, and the door's open, so there's, 2 leaders essentially in there. And so there's really not much of I hope a time that they could, fall for that. 2, if we see a student have another student's phone, that's probably a red flag to us to say, that's not your phone. Why do you have it? And so if you want to take your student's phone away, if that's the call for you, okay, you don't even have one? Great choice.
I'm not ready to go down that road
Yeah.
yet, so I know I'm not within the majority.
No, I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
And so,
A lot of adult supervision.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if, yeah, and I've learned with middle school boys, they're very talkative about, in front of you, what they might be thinking or wanting to do, the temptations around. And so leaders are gonna know if that temptation is around, because middle schoolers sometimes talk about it. And so, I think our leaders are gonna be really aware of, oh, hey, these students are talking about this, or talking about, playing a game on their phone. Hey, let's not do that right now, And so they're very aware of that. And if that temptation is too big and that phone, like, in my pocket, I got to look at it every 10 seconds, that we're going to draw the line way before to make sure that, like, phones are really just for talking to parents, just in case, and that's about it.
Yeah, I would just reiterate, first off, it's okay that you have that conviction. I wouldn't, you don't have to clarify that a bunch of, like, that's a really good protective thing. The second piece is, I think that's why we take them away at night, because I think night is kind of the moments when there's not, it's a lot easier to sneak away and look, and because the day is so packed throughout the day that they're not really ever by themselves at all to do that, and especially they're not even really that distant from a leader either. So the days are pretty hectic, and they're going, and then that's why we take them away at night, because that would be the downtime when something like that could happen. And for a lot of students, it's also they're coming from very different contexts. We love that this is a trip that a lot of kids that have no idea who Jesus is show up to. And so helping them learn how to engage with a cell phone in a healthy way is a really cool message, and an important part of that too. So, yeah. No, that's a great. Yeah. And it's kind of helping them with that, like the elementary is none, middle school is a little bit, and some not during night, and then high school is, we try to help teach them how to have it. They're going to have the ability to have it the whole time. So it's kind of helping them hopefully walk that step ladder to help learn how to engage with it. Yeah.
And also, I think I said this, but every dorm room is going to have 2 leaders at least. Especially some of the guy rooms are kind of bigger. I think maybe 30 kids, and so they're going to probably have 4 leaders in there. And so just so you know, there's going to be leaders every step of the way. And at night, there's no way they can get to their phones, because they're literally under the leader's bed, plugged in if they want to charge it, but they're kept away.
And just know that you still have access to us in emergency contact situations like that. It's not your students are going dark all night long. We still have our phones, and there's still communication if you were to need something. Yeah. Never had a student ask a question.
I'm going to 5th grade, and then we're going to do the Southeast camp, but I don't understand why the middle schoolers have to pay money while we have to use the card, because is there a limit of how much snacks there is in elementary, or?
I love both the student questions were about snacks. I love that. So I think some of the
very
reason
important
for that is maybe kind of younger kids might be able to lose the money really easily. We don't want you to lose your money, and so having a card with you at all time might be helpful, right? And so I think that's a little different. I don't know. I don't make those decisions, but I like where your head's at.
Thank you for that. Anything else?
So are the elementary school kids in the camp at the same time, or is this just middle school?
Just middle.
This is just middle school. Yeah, those are different weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if you don't ask a question here, that's totally fine. We'll be up front afterwards for you guys to ask more questions. Plus, our door is always open. You can always email or text, or shoot Candy a text, or one of us. More Kenny. I'd be the last line of defense. But you can shoot any of us a message, and we would love to help process or figure out anything that you need. Good?
Anything else?
Kenny, why don't you pray for the trip?
Yeah.
Never mind.
I understand you said that you want us to meet the small group leaders and everything. Will we know who those folks are before the drop-off that day?
Yes. So kind of how we're going to have it.
Same people that they're in small group with during
Yes.
Zoom service?
Yeah. And so kind of how we're going to have it set up in here. And so they're going to meet their small groups in this room that we're in right now. And so you guys are going to check in on some computers over there, and we're going to have the leaders set up with some type of sign. My hope is to have a sign that says, small group 3 or whatever, and you'll know hey, my student, off their tags that they're given when you check in, my student's in small group 3. And so then you can walk and drop them off literally with their small group leader. And so the heart of that, one, is so you guys can meet them. 2, if your student's completely 100% unconnected, the second they step into this building, they're connected. The second they walk in, they're with their small group, they're with their leader. So there's no time that they're oh, where am I? And there's so many people, and who are my people? And where's my leader? And where are my students? And so it kind of just helps their leader connect them really, really easily and quickly. But yes, there will be time to meet them.
About a roster of who's in the groups beforehand, or is that just something they experience when they get here?
It's something they experience when they get here. Yeah, if you wanted to, like, we could find that out, but it's if you just kind of broadcast it like that, it's a little easier to handle the issues that day when people get here, rather than kind of just throwing it out there and letting everybody pick apart. Perfect. Yeah, and 99% of the time it works out because we definitely take into account who they wanted to be with. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've already kind of started making those groups. Every student that they put their, like the first name they wrote down, I want to be with this person, they're with. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Can't wait. Yeah, and we know
Well,
that,
that's good.
honestly,
That's
for a lot of
exciting.
parents, that this is the first time that you're sending your student anywhere, like especially it is technically another state. And so we really want to be aware of that and let you guys know. I know Kenny did an amazing job talking about safety and security and all that stuff. We try to go above and beyond to help inform you guys and to also help to make sure that every aspect of this trip is really well thought out and taken care of. So just know I have been going on trips like this or taking kids on trips like this for 12 years, and I haven't lost a kid yet. So we honestly, again, we just do. Our like Candy does an amazing job. Our security team does an amazing job. We are so blessed here to have a staff that focuses on these trips for us. So again, we have our own security team there and everything. It's really, really well done. So yeah.
Sorry, real quick question about medicine.
Yep.
If you say dinner time, like will they take the medicine to the place where they're getting dinner, or does that take time out for them to go get dinner or go get their medicine in one building and then go to dinner?
It's all in that same
Yep.
building, the cafeteria. Yeah.
Yep.
And so kind of, and the medical team even, let's say a student, forgets their medicine at dinner, the medical team will leave and go to like the sessions right after the dinner. And so they'll be at the session. And so they're going to be wherever your student should be instead of having to walk, half a mile to go get their medicine.
That's been an experience in the past for mine.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
Can you describe a rundown of like what the food is, or say
Don't have the full rundown of what the food is right now, but it's
Yeah.
pretty basic breakfast, lunch, and dinner as far as there's like it's a cafeteria. It's a camp cafeteria. So don't think too highly of what it should be, but also it's well above most camp experiences. Kid food, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like some, yeah,
It's
exactly.
Stuff,
And there's
it's
some
stuff
like,
that they like.
yeah, and there's like some bacon and eggs some mornings.
We're not
like
making them eat asparagus, if that's the
yeah,
question.
no. It's
Yeah.
definitely kid food. It's definitely kid food. And if your student does have an allergy or any, we definitely have lines and places for all those food allergies to be taken care of too. So
And two, they also let them have seconds,
Yeah.
if they want it. And so I know I ate so much as a 7th, 8th grader, and so if they need that extra food, they're gonna get it.
yeah,
It's not you've been through once, because I know some kids are barely gonna eat the first one, some kids are gonna want to have 3, and that's the case. Yeah,
I want to
Yeah.
have 3. Yeah,
Michael says it's really
Michael
good.
says it's good. That's a professional review right there.
It was breakfast on a stick. That's what I forgot. Breakfast on a stick. It's like sausage and a biscuit type thing around it. It's like a corn dog, but it's breakfast. That's what I forgot. I just
We
had to do that.
digress.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anything else? Awesome. Again, we love you guys. We're so thankful that you've entrusted your children with us for this trip, and we know that God's going to show up in big ways. Pray for it.
Yeah. Lord, I thank you so much for this just room of parents. And Lord, I just pray for Mix, and it's, as this is coming up almost a month away, Lord, I just pray that you just prepare the hearts of our students, these parent students, just to soften them, just to, Lord, in their life and their heart, just make them ready to hear the gospel. If it's the first time they've heard the gospel or it's the 100th, Lord, I just pray they hear it with new ears, ready to hear about your son, what he can offer to them, what he can transform in their life and in their hearts. And so, Lord, I pray for that. Lord, I pray for just safety along the way. And even as we always take all the precautions, Lord, we know that we need you in every step just to take away from injuries and things like that. And so, Lord, I pray that you just give these parents just a good heart and mind, knowing that their kids are taken care of and seen by you and loved by you. And so, Lord, I just pray for deep connection, deep community that's going to interact with Jesus and then leave keeping Jesus in their midst and making sure just to remind one another just of what we experienced in your Son, Jesus Christ, during this week. And so, Lord, thank you for just this church that just is able to offer this. And so, Lord, I pray for these parents in this room. And, Lord, I pray that they just continue to just love and disciple their students every day. Just stand and pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, guys. We'll be up front if you have any questions.